I'll throw this question to the fathers present in this room today. What are the defining moments in your life as a father? Si Mac. Mac, give us please one defining moment in your life as a father. Pagbata ni Dada kay Hershey. Mike, what is the most defining moment in your life as a father? Kling, would you please be kind enough to show me the slides? Stop there. I believe, Pastor Tony, Mac, and Mick, you will tell us that the most breathtaking moment in your life was the first time you held your son, your child, in your arms. Yes? Exactly. Kung balikan nyo na ang moment nga first time nyo ginhold ang inyong bata. Balikan ko rin ni Pastor Tony ang first time ang ginhold niya siya kamot si Aaron. Or Mac and Hershey, Mike and Kaina. I believe it will always, hindi ito pwede nga hindi ka mo matouch. Yes? Okay. Sa time nga nagadugsing, kamo with your kids. Okay. Next slide. Next slide. Pasensya lang kamo kay puros, foreigners, ang ha? Okay. Feel nyo lang nga daw kamo, puro. Okay. Diba? Kanami, iba lang feeling, biskan gani kamo nga hindi, mga tatay, or kita nga mga hindi pa parents, no? Kanami ang feeling nga, natulugan ang bata sa imo nga baga, no? And I think as a father, isa sa mga most defining moments sa life mo sa father, nang gahilay-hilay lang bata mo sa imo baga. Tama? Next. Oh. You go back to the first time that your kid was hurt and they ran to you. How did it feel? Ngayon na-hurt siya, tapos sa kadamuan sa tao, gin-search siya ginaglagan si mo. Papa. You know. Next. Wala na. Ay, wala. Alay, stop. Alay. Sa nakita ta nga slides, anong pinaka-common na nakita ta? Siyempre, tatay kang bata. Yes. And if you've noticed, all of those slides, nakaptan sang tatay ang iya nga bata. A father's defining moment is the moment when his child is in his arms. Wala sang word nga pwede makadescribe sang feeling nga ang bata mo ara sa imong makamot. But let's take this a little bit farther. How does this relate to us as children of God? In Romans 8:15 to 16, it says, "The Spirit you receive does not make you slaves, so that you live in fear again. Rather, the Spirit you receive brought about your adoption to sonship." Everybody say sonship. "And by Him we cry, Abba, Father. For the Spirit Himself testifies with our spirit that we are God's children." The moment we receive Jesus Christ as our personal Savior, hambalya, we receive the spirit of sonship, and we know and we know and we know and we know deep in our hearts, deep in our spirit, that yes, we are God's children. tulo ka, liwat tupad mo. Hambala siya, bata ko yan ni Lord. If you are a believer, then you are God's child. And that means He is your Father. If there is a question in your heart, gambal ka, bata, di man ko siyang Ginoo kung hindi. If there is that question in your heart today, before you get out of this room, make sure that you've made Him as your Father. If there is someone that is worth celebrating today, it is our Abba Father. Kaya na, nag-question sa atong si Dada na baya, sino sa inyo nga buhi pa inyo mga tatay? Iban sa aton, mapalad, gid nga buhi pa aton mga tatay, no? Pero may iban sa aton nga ila tatay, hindi naupod nila. Pero mas masakit pag gid nga buhi ang tatay mo, pero hindi mo upod. Yes? Pero kanami lang gid bala. Kay subong nga adlaw, gina-remind kita that we have a Father in heaven. And He is our real Father. Do you know that this is the first truth that I've learned? I was 7 years old when I realized that Papa God is my real Father. I was in grade 1. Away nila ko. Di kayo wala is tatay. Di ko mas lamahambal nga sugit na kay tatay. Pag uli ko sa balay, hibi ko kay nanay. Wala ko yan naghibi, kay ginaway ko. Naghibi ko yan, kay gilaing buot ko, kay wala ko sang tawgon nga tatay. And then nanay told me this, Amaya, do you know, si tatay mo yan. Tatay mo lang nasa dugo. Pero tutuod mo gid siya nga tatay, si Lord. Kung may reklamo ka, nugid ka sa tutuod mo nga tatay. Ang balang tupad mo, balaan ko sinututuod ko nga tatay. Have you ever thought that if God, the Father of all fathers, has also defining moments? May mga defining moments mambala sa kay Lord. May mga moments mambala nga gina-treasure ya, nga special para sa iya, nga hindi iya malipatan. Although yes, of course, God will never forget anything. I mean, pareho manayahan si Lord sa mga katatayan naton nga may ara gid siya nga moment sa life niya as a father naton nga gina balik-balikan niya. Nga nanamian nga gid balikan. Deuteronomy chapter 1 verse 29b to 31. It says, ambal ni Moses sa mga Israelites, ambaya, I tell you, do not be terrified or afraid of your enemies, because the Lord your God, who goes before you, He will fight for you according to all He did for you in Egypt before your eyes, and in the wilderness where you saw how the Lord your God carried you as a man carries his son in all the way that you went until you came to this place. Remember this image, a man carrying his son. A man carrying his child. It's a picture of God and His people, and it's a picture of God and you. And if there are some of you right now that has been attacked by the spirit of loneliness and discouragement, I want you to freeze that image in your mind of a man carrying his son. That's God and you in His arms. When does a father carry his son? Insabat na kina ni Mike, kag ni Mac. Sang baby. Saan ang bata siya? Saan yung bata siya? Oh. Second, gina-carry isang tatay ang bata usually kung masakit, kung nasakitan, o kung kapoy ang bata. Tama? Third, gina-carry sang tatay ang bata pag inadlokan. Or worse, sa time nga napatay siya. Remember that time that you were born again. Remember that time when you first met Jesus Christ. And you felt so light, so happy, as if tanan nga problema mo nagtalalabog. Dada, you remember that time when you encountered Him and He took your fears away. Remember that first time you prayed your first prayer request and God answered you. Remember that first time you got a touch from Him. Have you remembered that first time when you have seen Him with your spiritual eyes? The first time you applied His word and it worked for you. Have you remembered that feeling? That moments, those were the times that God has carried you in His arms. You were a newborn kid. You need assurance that you were loved. That's why the first time you met Him, sa subong nga mga times, 5 years, 10 years of walking with Him, you wanted to go back to that first time. You felt His love for you. Because those were the defining moments, not only of our lives, but also of God. The first time He carried you in His arms. It was the first defining moment of God with you. The first time you were born again. The first time you felt His arms around you. Nang ba siya finally? Nag-uli na bata ko. Do you know why it still brings tears in your eyes? Because that's how it felt to be in His arms. It was so special to Him. That time was so special to Him. When you went home, when you went to His arms and said, Lord, take me back. And it changed us because we have touched His heart and His heart has touched us. As we journey through life, there were times in our lives when we find ourselves too weary to go on. I don't know if you have come to a point in your life where you just want to stop reading the Bible, you just want to stop praying, you just, want to stop going to church, or you just want to stop doing all this religious stuff. How many of you can relate to me? And it seems like your spirit is willing, but your flesh is weak, but sometimes your spirit is not willing to. And there's this voice inside of you that I can't run this race anymore. You come to a point in your life where you question His love for you. I've come to that point several times. You come to a point in your life where you are bombarded with trials left and right, top, bottom, and you have no one to turn to. But did you remember that time when you were at the lowest point of your life and you called out to Him and He told you, it's gonna be all right? And it changed you because that was a defining moment for Him. What a beautiful sight to see your child wounded and in pain and He ran to you. When we're wounded, sometimes we run to other people. And instead of receiving the comfort that we need, we receive more wounds. We become more frustrated because they cannot understand what we're going through. And instead of comfort, we receive judgment. You go to church and you think people in the church will understand you. And instead of receiving encouragement, you see the opposite. And it makes you mad and disappointed. The heart of the Father is calling to us today. If you're wounded, run to Him. That's the most beautiful sight that you and I could see when a child runs to his father. Why? Because it speaks of trust and dependence. You're telling, my dad got my back and he will make me feel all right. That's what we are saying every time we run to the Father's arms. I hope that when we leave earth, damo kita defining moments with the Lord. Di bala moments na puros pasaway lang yan. God has given His everything for us. Sorry, but sometimes we make His life a living hell. If I pray that today we will be reminded that in those times, He has carried us in His arms. How many of you have experienced betrayal? How many of you have been so disappointed with people in your lives? How many of you have been broken? Crushed? Lapak-lapak, as in crushed to the max. Na hindi lang naging crush na naulog. Hindi lapak-lapak. How many of you can say, yeah, I've been there. I know how it feels. Do you know why you're still here today? Because in those moments of brokenness, your Father was there, crying with you, feeling your pain. He has never abandoned you. That's why you're still here today. Bala mong gabit ni ibig niyo. Because this message is so close to my heart. You go back to the moments when you experience loss or death. Not really the death of someone, but the death of your dreams, the death of your desires, the death of relationships, the loss of something that you thought you would have for the rest of your life. It's not easy to lose something or someone, especially kung di mo gusto. Okay lang mga palautang, mga chismoso, malus. Pero mga planga-plangga, mga ibala nga naging naghatag, gidya benefit. Hindi man nga, daw nag-add gidya value sa imo bala. Tapos, you lose it. It was in those times that God has carried us. Mike Murdoch said, God's greatest pleasure is to be believed, especially in times that we don't have any reason to believe Him. And His greatest pain is to be doubted. God loves to carry you in His arms all the days of your life. Exodus 19:4, it says, You yourselves have seen what I did to the Egyptians and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Deuteronomy 32 verse 11, it says, Like an eagle that stirs up its nest, that hovers over its young, He spread His wings and caught them. He carried them on His pinions. Isaiah 40 verse 11, it says, He will feed His flock like a shepherd. He will gather the lambs with His arm and carry them in His bosom and gently lead those who are with child. I don't know if you have heard the song Footprints in the Sand, but I want to read to you the lyrics of this song. It says, One night, a man had a dream, and he dreamed he was walking with the Lord. Across the sky flashed scenes from his life. For each scene, he noted 2 sets of footprints in the sand. One belonged to him, the other to the Lord. When the last scene of his life flashed before him, he looked back at the footprints in the sand and noticed that many times along the path of his life, there was only one set of footprints. He also noticed that this seemed to happen at the very lowest and saddest times in his life. This really bothered him, and he questioned the Lord about it. Lord, you said that once I decided to follow you, you would walk with me all the way. But I have noticed that in the most troublesome times in my life, there are only one set of footprints. I don't understand why, when I needed you the most, you would leave me. How many of you have said those words at some point? And the Lord replied, Oh, my precious, precious child, I love you and I would never leave you. During your times of trial and suffering, when you see only one set of footprints, I did not leave you. It was then that I carried you. And he goes on to say, over all my burdens and through all my fears, Jesus carries me. Through all my trials and through all my fears, Jesus carries me. Today, as we celebrate Father's Day, let us remember 2 things. Number 1, that our fathers, our earthly fathers here, were divinely appointed by God to nurture us while we are here on earth. Let's thank them and appreciate them and honor them for those moments when they have held us in their arms and taught us that life may not always be good, that the sun may not always shine, but they've got our backs. Number 2, we have a Father who loves to hold us in His arms in every season of our lives. In Isaiah 63 verse 9, it says, In all their affliction, He was afflicted, and the angel of His presence saved them. In His love and in His mercy, He redeemed them, and He lifted them and carried them all the days of their life. Can you tap the shoulder of the person sitting right next to you and tell them, God is carrying you in His arms. Before I leave tonight, I want to share with you this video that I think would appropriately describe kag magpakita of how the Father cares for us and the power of His arms. That was Redmond. And actually, pagtapos sila runs ng race ni Tataya, they had this standing ovation. It was impossible for him to finish his race. He finished it because his Father was with him. Isaiah 46, 3-4, it says, "Listen to me, O house of Jacob, and all the remnant of the house of Israel." It's you and me, who have been upheld by me from birth, who have been carried from the womb. Even to your old age, I am He, and even to gray hairs, I will carry you. I have made, and I will bear, even I will carry, and will deliver you. I don't know kung diin ka mo nga parte sa race niyo kamo subong. Maybe some of you are in the middle, or maybe some of you are nearly at the end, or maybe some of you are still starting. Diin man ka mo nga part sang race na ginset sa inyo ni Lord. I pray that all of us will be reminded that we are His kids, and He will make sure that you and I will finish the race. Happy Father's Day.
Katahong nga firm, and sometimes we have a wrong notion regarding bala kapag kita ay na-defeated or nag-fail. And we thought nga na anad bala kita yung kung medyo nag-fail ka na, nakasala ka, iko-condemn ka na. Do you know na napaka-importante sa Father's love? Because the Father's love and the Father's embrace, the Father's acceptance, amo na siya ang nagadetermine kung healthy ang imong personality o hindi. Because nga distorted ang personalidad sa lalaki at babae. Nga ang babae nagiging laki noon, nga ang lalaki nagiging daw babae. Because it lacks the Father's love. It lacks Father's approval. It lacks the Father's acceptance of you. And through the film, makita natin, that the Father will defy everybody to stop Him in helping the child. I was with the celebration of the Father's Day today sa Isaka Church. Kaya dito sa drama nila, may drama sila yan. One girl can choose a father. Siling ko, tani, tuod, no? Galing hindi. You could not choose your father. You have only one earthly father. And no matter what, ano man ina nga father, He is the best father for you. Kaya siya ang ginagamit ni Lord para tumuhaw ka sa sinyang kalibutan. I think we should have a healthy perspective subong, even though nga ang aton father wala naging the best nga example sa aton. Because God is so kind enough na pabalon ka, you still have the best father in this world. Hindi man nahatag sa imo sa earthly father mo, but God the Father can complete that. And so today, some of you might have daw kulang-kulang dira sa inyong heart na bahin. But God wants to fill that vacant room in your heart today. And if your father had not given you the best example, it is really good for us to bless them and remember them in our prayer that God will really bless them. To some of you, you have a father that is really good and naging example sa inyo. Well, thank God because He had given you the father. But sometimes, kung sinaw pa tong buot ni tatay, amo pa tong dasig nga nadula. And you know, the Father only wants you to understand this. He is always there for you. He will never be against you. When you look at the parable of the prodigal son, though nga ang may diferensya, hindi ang tatay, ang anak ang may diferensya. Pero nakita natin niya nga nakadupa ang tatay. Layo lang bata niya, ginaasam-asam niya na, ginapulo pananaw niya nga one day mapuli ng bata niya. Do you know that some of you, God is waiting for you really to throw yourself in the arms of the Father? Sila ni Manel, kaina, sila niya, it seems nga kung magkanto ka bala sa simbahan, you thought nga these people knows kung ano ang kinanglanon mo. But you're wrong. Kay luyag lang ipabalo sa imo sa aton Heavenly Father, nga siya lang ang nakatulid sa imo. Kag hindi niya luyag nga may karibal siya sa imo. That's why ang ginatanaw mo ya ang mga the father's figure sa church tapos wala man mahatag sa inyo. Don't you worry. Okay man, God allows it to happen so that you may know nga ang the right person nga dalaganan mo permi is your Heavenly Father. You can come to Him under the roof. You can come to Him under the tree. You can come to Him even when you are in the river. You can come to Him even when you are in the work. You can come to Him anytime, anywhere. Nga anytime nga luyag mo nga magpalapit sa iya. Wala sang limit. This is unlimited nga supply sang love ni Father. And so today, as we sing the song, I want you really to come to the Father and run to His arms. Dumduman ko bala na ang bata bala, pasaway, gapang distorbo. Sang ako sa una sang gamay ako, dumduman ko na, the best siya nga manog istorbo sa akon, si Sweet. Nanamian gini siya kapag in the middle of my prayer, manglingling na siya dito sa akong prayer room. And then gina-describe niya kung ano ang posisyon ko kung magpipray. Siya, Papa, naaga mo ka na. So I explained it to her. Pero you know what? I will not allow anybody to disturb me in prayer. Not even my wife during those times. But whenever my children come to me and disturb me, I'm willing to open the door. Because they have a very special room in my heart. Anybody, any child of mine can come and disturb me anytime, even in my private times and moments. Especially, ang father, pag nakita niya na napang-disturb bata, okay lang. Kung nagapang gamudra, ginahod, okay lang na yan. Daw hindi mo na siya makuha sa pagiging busy. Pero the moment nga madasma na nga bata, kung nasakitan na gani, diraya, bilin ginasang tatay, ang iya nga ginahimo just for the sake nga matagaan niya sang embrace ang bata. I have one good memory with my father. Na one time nga nagsalaksak ang aswang. Napakupo ako kay tatay. And then one day, nag-aakon ako sa iya. Gintibong niya ako. Kaya nga, sabihin ko tayo, hindi ako maglakat. Hindi ako, sige, tibong mo ka na lang ka. Kaya wala sang aswang na pakapalapit sa inyo. Kasi ari ko rin. And that's an assurance that the Father takes care of us. I want you to run to the arms of the Father today. To complete what is lacking in your heart. Kung hindi man nahatag ng tatay niyo. Don't you worry. Bless your Father today. In spite of kulang-kulang ang ilang himlo. I want you to say blessing sa inyong tatay. Regardless kung anong feeling nyo subong, regardless nga daw sila nyo, daw hindi siya angay. It's time for you to bless because God had prepared for you a Father also in His person today. And I want you to run to Him today. So you can bless your earthly father kay kulang-kulang man sila because they could not give what they don't have. They might be looking for love sa imong nga lolo o sa imong nga lolo sa tuhod pero hindi man nila nahatag. Therefore, hindi man sila kahatag love sa imo. But here is a good father that can give you